Hi, I'm here with Jessica Eadsworth-Yates. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yes, you did.
Okay. She was born in Manchester, England, 5'6" point guard who's capable of dribbling a basketball in high heels. Not a lot of people probably can do that. She played for 2 years for the Davis and Elkins Senators of NCAAI 2, and she's currently a player for Westfield Health Sheffield Hatters. Right? Everything
Correct. Yeah.
fine so far. Awesome, awesome.
Good
How are
research.
you? How are you, Jessica?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm actually doing very, very well because the team is winning and we are top of the table as of right now here in the Super League in England, which is the top division here in the UK. Yeah, so couldn't be better.
Okay. And generally, when you joined the team, that was the goal that was presented to you as players before the season, the top
Yeah, so
spot.
obviously being a naturalized player, being from the UK myself, I have played in this league. This will be my fifth year. My first time with Sheffield, I started the start of this year in Greece, and for complications, I came back to the UK and joined Sheffield Hatters. Um, Sheffield are always kind of within the top four each year. So I knew that they were a very good team when I was coming here. I didn't know how good of a team I was walking into. I think a lot of people have made comments that this is probably the best team people have seen in a while. So yeah, it's a really cool thing to be a part of, and it was a cool situation to come back to the UK too.
Mhm. Okay, okay. And during the previous 4 seasons, you played for Leicester Riders, right? Was it four? I think it was 4 or 5.
I think it was four, yeah,
Four.
four
Okay,
seasons.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. So, what was that like playing for the Riders?
It honestly kind of a full circle moment because yes, I am originally from Manchester, but at 16 I went to an academy that was like a prep for going to America,
Hmm.
and that was based in Leicester. So from 16 to 18 I went to a boarding school, left my family, did basketball full time alongside my studies to prepare to get a scholarship for the NCAA. So coming back after America as a full-time pro and being a part of their senior women's squad kind of felt like a second home. And it kind of just felt right. So hence why I was there for so long. Good people, felt like home. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And you also studied at Loughborough University. Did you graduate
Yes.
or?
Sorry, yes. I did my undergrad for 4 years in the States, and any basketball probably player will probably tell you they just want to play basketball.
Mhm.
But when I was coming back and signing at Leicester, they have sort of a deal within their pro team that you can get your masters for free with their attachment to the university. Now, some persuasive thoughts from friends and family is Loughborough University is actually the number one sports university in the world. So everyone was like, "You'd be stupid not to do it," and I was like, "Ah, okay." So yeah, I got coerced into doing a master's there as well.
Okay. And you did? Did you graduate?
Yes, I
Yeah,
graduated. Yeah.
awesome. What was your major?
So my major was in sport management in my undergrad and in my master's with a minor in finance.
Okay, okay. Just a side note, did you have classes with Professor Alan Bayerner or not really?
Oh no, that name
Probably
doesn't ring
not.
a
Okay.
bell.
Okay, 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 okay. Because I wanted to give him a shout out. If you did, I can still give him a shout out. He's an awesome guy. Okay,
Definitely
so
do.
apart from playing basketball, you are also a model, right? Okay, so okay, that's interesting. So what can you tell me about your like modeling? Can you call it a career, an adventure, maybe?
Yeah, it's something that's I mean, as being a tomboy my whole life and just growing up playing basketball, that term like model still makes me a bit like but I guess that I'm very new to it, so I have to accept that term. It only sort of came about maybe the last year or so. And everything honestly just came through via Instagram. So I just started posting a lot more off-court stuff, and I love fashion and dressing up and being a girl, because obviously we're always in shorts and we're always kind of being like guys most of the time. So I always try to be as feminine on court and off court as possible. So I was just posting that a lot more on social media. And I actually got reached out to last summer to do a Nike campaign, which was huge. I was obviously, it's every kid's dream. And it was in collaboration with the Beats headphones. So again, two of the biggest brands ever. And sadly, for whatever reasons, right at the last minute, they decided to go with a male basketball player, and I was absolutely heartbroken.
But a British player as well? A
Yeah, a
Brit,
British,
yeah.
but they decided to go with like a
Okay.
male instead of a
Okay.
female. Which, if you know that industry, it's very cutthroat. They're very swappy, changing things get changed all the time.
Yeah.
And I kind of spoke to the guy that got me the job and was like, "You owe me one." So again, you probably are going to ask these questions, but yeah, so I'm very new to it.
Okay, okay. And so the one that you were owed, is it the deal with the Emirates?
Yeah,
Okay,
so
okay. So if you can
about
tell us more.
a few months later, I get a call off him, and he's like, "Jess, like, I have the most perfect job for you." And I was like, a bit apprehensive, because at this point I hadn't actually taken a job. And he explained it, and I was like, my jaw was on the floor. Like, I was like, I mean, what a cool job. I mean, it was in collaboration again with two huge brands. It was Emirates with the NBA. And it was very, very niche. They were looking for a blonde basketball player that was tall, that could be a basketball player, like that was tall enough to pass as an air hostess. Um, so in my everyday life basketball, I get criticized because I'm 5'5" and I'm
Mhm.
tiny. But for this project, it couldn't have been any better, because they needed a small player that could pass as cabin crew. Um, and the job was about 2.5, 3 weeks long. We started in London, Berlin, Dubai, Mexico City, Vegas, and then finished in LA for the NBA All-Star game. And it was probably, I mean, it's probably going to be one of the coolest things I've ever done. It was so much travel, but yeah, I had the best time. I met some of the coolest people. Definitely has opened up a lot of doors in that, direction. The people that I was working with producers for Adidas, and yeah, it was awesome. It was really,
Okay.
really cool.
Okay. And are you still getting proposals from various like sponsors or agencies?
Yeah, so obviously doing that job again, it kind of came out in segments, because we did it for, I don't know how up to date you were with watching the NBA Europe stuff, but it was done for the NBA games in London, Berlin, the Vegas Cup,
Hmm.
NBA All-Star in LA. So it kind of came out in segments, but when it did, it was all of their socials. It was actually getting played on the big jumbotrons in the Staples Center, which was really cool. And then I started to have gradual, like each time something came out, a bit more traction. I'm actually taking a job with And One next
Okay.
week, which is really cool, because they were my first ever basketball shoes when I was a kid. So again, that it honestly, like, things have moved so fast in the last 12
Okay.
months with just, yeah, it's exciting.
Did you follow the mixtapes as well as they were coming out and one mixtapes or not really?
Yeah, I mean, my producer and the guy I worked with was sort of giving me heads up, like, when things were gonna come out. But honestly, it everyone laughs like, "Oh my God, that was such a good work trip." I'm like, I can't even class that as work. I got to travel business class with Emirates all over the
Hmm.
world and dribble a basketball. It didn't feel
Yeah.
like work.
Okay, since we're at your first basketball shoes, uh, when did you buy your first basketball shoes? Because it sounds like something serious, right? Because when you start playing basketball, you play in like trainers, whatever. But once this means that things got serious, I think, right?
Definitely. So I think I was about 10. And again, full circle moment with working with And One next week is my feet were absolutely tiny. Obviously, I'm very small. And all of the cool mainstream brands like Nike, Adidas did not didn't have my size. They only at that point did male basketball shoes. And I remember my mum taking me into the store, and the only shoes that they had available for my size was a pair of and ones, and I wore them into the ground. So getting to work with them next week is kind of really cool.
Okay. And were you always the point guard and the dribbler, or did you start off as, I don't know, a free and then you moved to one? What was that process like?
I think naturally being smaller, I've always been a point guard. I was a point guard in the States. I'm actually not playing the point guard right now. I'm playing the
Hmm.
two, so the shooting guard. I think flipping between the one and the two, depending on what team you're at, obviously with what they're in need of, as I've entered my professional career, that's kind of flip-flopped each year. So being the one or the two. So yeah.
Okay. And what do you prefer more? A long free or a step back two?
Oh, a long three all day.
Oh, I see. Okay, okay, okay.
Uh,
Because you tend to score a lot of those, right? I mean, yeah, yeah, yeah. And no,
No,
I
yeah,
mean,
no, I do. I
I've
just
seen some of your tapes, so there were some trees that were launched from downtown. So that was quite impressive. Uh, so moving to West Virginia, how did that happen? And why did you decide? Maybe let's start with how did you first decide to move to the States?
so I actually started my freshman year in Arizona, and
Okay.
I was contacted. I was playing for my national team at the European Championships, and there was hundreds of college American coaches coming to watch, you know, England play
Hmm.
Spain. And I got picked up by this Arizona coach who I immediately, for me, it's a big thing. It doesn't necessarily matter about location or as a point guard and someone that's kind of the coach on the floor. My relationship with the coach needs to be that's like the most important thing. And I just clicked with her and we kind of spent some time in Portugal talking about things and it was like a no-brainer. So I signed with her. However, this is a 2-year school. I don't know if you know are familiar what the junior colleges
Yeah, yeah,
are in
yeah.
America. So I went to her, and then naturally I had to leave after my 2 years in Arizona. And that's when I moved to West Virginia, which was completely a big shock from the desert to the mountains.
Hmm.
But again, I think it was the coach. Ultimately, I go off not necessarily what's like the fanciest kit or who they're sponsored by, but if I can have a phone call and really get along with the coaching staff, I think that's ultimately what's the most important.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. So, and what were your first days like in Arizona? Because it's a different country, different culture, different cuisine as well. So, how did you adapt to that?
Yeah, it was interesting. I remember I came out of my family at first for the first few days, and I was terrified about all of the creatures in Arizona. And I don't care what anybody says about Australia, Arizona is 10 times worse. We
So,
have,
coyotes and
oh,
yeah, okay,
coyotes, tarantulas, rattlesnakes, black
okay.
widows, like the lot. So, yeah, that was definitely a transition, and the heat for sure.
Yeah, the weather is, I mean, it depends on what you prefer, but I mean, the weather is awesome there, right?
Oh,
Well, in the
gorgeous.
summer it gets probably a bit too hot, but other than that, it's cool. Okay. So you moved to West Virginia. And what were the years in West Virginia like? Because you played for Davis and Elkins Senators, right? So what were those seasons like for you?
Honestly, amazing. Like, I didn't know this when signing to the school, but that school in particular is a very, very small liberal arts school, and it's set in the West Virginia mountains. I mean, it's beautiful, like picturesque. It's definitely, the John Denver song "Take Me Home, Country Roads." You can definitely see why that was wrote.
Yeah.
And that song was actually played after every game, which
Oh
was
my
like.
God. Okay.
But we had more international students at that school than we did Americans. So through basketball, soccer, tennis, swimming, it felt like a global school. We had, again, like there's not many places in America where you would have a school where there was more foreign European kids than there is Americans. So for me, I absolutely loved it because I was with Brazilians and Swedish people and Finnish people and like just all of my fellow Europeans, and I loved it for that.
Okay. I've noticed that you said soccer instead of football as a proper English lass should. So I want to ask you, when you came back from the States, was it harder to communicate with people since you were using some of the American words?
Oh, 100%. Because obviously 4 years is a long time, and I think I went over when I was 18. So again, your vocabulary isn't that extensive at that time. And
Yeah.
I found when I was over there to adapt instead of saying bin, what we would say in England, I would say trash because if I said bin, it would be a whole conversation with the Americans and it just was pointless. So I just kind of adapted. I would say laundry instead of washing and elevator instead of
Right.
lift. And then when I came home to England, my family, obviously made fun of me.
Obviously, right. That you went to America for 4 years and you forgot the language completely, probably. Yeah, yeah,
Completely.
yeah. Okay. Uh, what can you tell me about the life of an NCAA Division II student? How does it differ from, well, you don't have the perspective maybe, but some people tend to think that NCAA Division II and Division III doesn't produce as much basketball talents as the NCAA Division One. So can we dispel that notion?
Yeah, so the junior college I played for my freshman year in Arizona was a Division One, and I was surrounded by very talented kids. But it's very strange because having played pro now and been teammates with people that played at the highest major schools, i.e. UConn, Baylor, and then I've played with girls that played Division 3 in the States. I mean, 9 times out of 10 it does translate, obviously. However, I don't know. In my personal opinion, I don't think it has necessarily always meant that they are the better players.
Mhm.
I know some girls that played Division 2 that would absolutely cook some girls that I've played with that have played at the highest major schools. And I think recruiting and playing in America is timing. So you can, look out one year and coaches are sort of in dire need and they not sign whoever. But I think recruiting and timing and making these big schools it's dependent year by year, is what I would say. I don't think there's a huge difference.
Okay, okay. So, and what about the food? In which place? I mean, you've played in England and you've played in the US, but and Greece. So I'm guessing that probably Greece had the best cuisine, even though the
When
experience wasn't as pleasurable, but the food probably was
oh,
awesome, right?
when I was leaving Greece, I will say like I was absolutely devastated to leave the food. I probably ate feta like a good 3 times a day. And yeah, I was sad to leave. And now when my teammates here are now let's go get Greek food. I'm like, it's not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah, it's all about the ingredients, right? You need them to be fresh because the cuisine is very simple, but it can be simple if you have like top-notch ingredients, right? So that's like totally makes sense. Uh, one more question I have, uh, because when going through your Instagram, one thing that stands out are your abs. How are you able to just, I mean, how is it possible to have such abs? And you're saying that you ate feta 3 times a day. I mean, is it genetics? What's your secret?
Do you know what? If anyone that knows me is gonna laugh because I'm the smallest person on our team, but I probably eat the most. I can say that I'm blessed with a good metabolism. I know that it's hard for me to put on weight, and that's kind of been a struggle throughout my whole career is I'm not only small in
Hmm.
size, I'm kind of small in stature as well. So coaches are always like, like you can't take a bump, you can't take a hit. So that as I've got older has kind of always been in my head. So having core strength and making sure that I am super toned, that I don't get overlooked just for my size is something that's really, really important to me. So I kind of live in the weight room. But again, I do eat like a man. So
Okay. Okay. So how many times do you go to the gym to work out apart from just play ball, you know?
Probably about 3 times a week, which isn't
Okay.
actually that long. In season, about 3 times a week in terms of lifting. In pre-season and post-season, about 4 or 5 times a week. Just because I really really enjoy lifting. I think I kind of get like a clear mind when I'm in the weight room, and yeah, no, I definitely am a bit of a
Yeah.
gym rat.
Yeah, it's like yeah, it's like time outside of time, right? Because you have like you can only focus on that and you can clear your thoughts. That's awesome. Okay, thank you, Jessica, for finding the time to talk. And I wish you all the luck in your future endeavors on the court and off it as well. So
Thank you.
thank
Oh, it
you.
was really nice to meet you, and thank you for, asking me to do this. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you for agreeing to it. Bye.
Bye, bye. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, you too.